Thursday, September 11th, here on the Just Baseball Show. That's Arm Layton, and I am Peter Apple. And today, we're drafting offensive units from every MLB contender within 3 games of the last spot in the wild card standings. We also have a minor league heat sheet. Arm's going to bring 10 minor leaguers that we need to pay closer attention to. But we're going to start with Anthony Rizzo hanging it up. He's retiring. We're going to talk a little bit about him, and it's all brought to us by the sportsbook Born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. But reminder, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Aram, before we talk about Anthony Rizzo, I want to go over this draft for a second because we're not just drafting bats. This isn't just the best offensive teams. We're not just looking at guys who swing it. We're going to look at defense. We're going to look at speed. We're going to look at the entirety of the unit. So you might think the Yankees have the highest WRC plus in baseball, but they're not very good defensively. They're not the best base running team in the world. So are they the number one pick? I'm really excited to do this draft.
Yeah, it adds a really fun layer to it. And I think just how much do you weigh the defense versus the offensive output? How much do you weigh the base running side of things? Or can that just pull an offense down? Can it be a separator for a few? That part's going to be really fun. Before we get into anything else, though, I do want to just shout out Connelly Early. We just broke down the start completely on the call up. So if you want to hear like a detailed breakdown of the Red Sox pitching prospects MLB debut, go check out the call up. That episode is already live. That was from yesterday. So you're listening to that. But holy shit. Uh 5 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. He had everything working. The Red Sox continue to develop these arms in their system. And I can't help but look ahead to next year and just think about now. You got Tolley, you got Early, you of course got Crochet, Bayo doing what he's doing, Giolito. They've got a lot of options here, but that was one of the most impressive big league debuts I can remember from a starting pitching prospect.
And you ranked him number 8 in the preseason rankings for the Red Sox prospects, but I saw you on Twitter. You made a big thread about it. It was hard to miss. I mean, this guy was electric with the fastball, the breaking ball down and in. He was straight up disgusting, and it comes on the heels of Peyton Toley's debut just a few weeks ago, where he also dominated, but then he ran into some trouble in his second start. Of course, that can happen to a young pitcher, but why do you think he rose so quickly through the Red Sox system and got this call in the first place?
Yeah, his fastball jumped a tick this year. That of course helped. I think the more diverse arsenal, the changeup has always been a plus pitch for him, and that was a pitch that I think he really carried him, whether he was at Army and then as he was kind of a midweek guy at UVA, and then the early going in his pro day or pro career. But the evolution of the breaking balls is what stands out to me, where you've got this gyro slider, and then you've got this two plane curveball. The gyro slider at like upper 80s, the two plane curveball off of that at like the lower 80s, and then he's got this sinker as well. He moves so athletically on the mound. I think found a little bit more extension too. He's got like 7 feet of extension. That paired with the uptick in fastball velocity, and then you improve these breaking balls. He's got a complete arsenal now. And it was, I think the last little wrinkle was command as well. And the command has been great over the last handful of starts. It just looks like a really well rounded, complete pitcher. And I think the Red Sox got another guy here.
They definitely do. And my last question on Connelly Early is, do you think he throws valuable innings in the playoffs? Because you look at the Red Sox rotation. Crochet's getting the ball game 1. Done. Giolito's probably getting the ball game 2. Maybe Red Sox fans would want Brian Bayo, but regardless, it looks like they're probably going to be 2-3. Then in a game 4 scenario, you could go Peyton Toley, you could go Connelly Early, or you just go right back to Crochet and use both of those in the bullpen. How do you think it's going to plan out?
I'm interested. I think it would be I mean, if he does this a couple more times, and I think you should definitely roll him out there and see what he can do again, you may have to have that conversation. But I kind of like the idea if you have this fourth game, presumably, where you could have Tolly as an opener, just emptying the tank, knowing that he's going just a couple innings, and then piggyback off of there. with a Weissert or somebody else if you can, or a Mats or who knows. I think that's probably a little bit safer. But I wouldn't rule it out. I think how good he looked this first time out, if he does that again, he's also coming off of his best start of his professional career, the game before getting called up in AAA, where he went 6 innings of 1 run ball and struck out 10 and walked nobody. So, I mean, if he does this a couple more times, maybe it's a conversation, but it probably would be a little ambitious.
Well, the Red Sox definitely have something cooking. They got two young lefties who can come up and help the team. Plus, they already got a trio of starters. And on tomorrow's episode, Jack and we're going to draft the best pitching units, including bullpens. So we're going to talk a lot more pitching on Friday's episode. But this, we're talking about bats, and a big time bat just retired. Anthony Rizzo hung him up. He is the only player in the 2010s with 200 plus home runs, 30 plus B WAR, and a World Series ring. And unfortunately, he won't make it into the MLB Hall of Very Good or Pretty Good. That's one of those Instagram pages. I'm not sure if people see that because his WAR is a little bit too high. They already told
Yeah.
us the WAR is a little bit too high, so he's in the
Okay,
middle.
I was gonna say, I was like, damn, he's really. What do you mean? I think he's well in there. Okay,
I think
he's too good
he's
for the
too
Hall of
good
Very
for
Good.
he's too good for pretty good.
So, so he's in the just brutal in between land of
Yeah.
can't get in the Hall pretty good, can't get in the Hall of Fame. I'll take that. I think I'll take a World Series, iconic World Series win, 3 All-Star appearances. Led the league in hit by pitch 3 times, but now 300 homers, an 828 career OPS. I mean, what a career! And then obviously overcoming cancer, all the things that he's done to give back, whether it be at Stoneman Douglas, his high school, other kids who have or people who have been dealing with cancer, and then just all the success that he's had on the field. Uh, I thought we might get one more year out of him, but it was a lot of injuries, a little frustration down the stretch there at the end with the Yankees. That concussion situation was frustrating and bizarre as well. But I mean, what an incredible career! 40 B WAR. That's a pretty amazing career, and a platinum glove.
100%, made an impact on the bases, made an impact with the glove, was a true winner. I know he's always going to be a legend in Chicago. Actually went over and is now an ambassador for the Cubs.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Uh,
Like, what does
uh,
an ambassador mean? I don't even know.
show up at some community events. Just I think it's one of those situations where it's just like, oh, well, he's back in the org and whatever that means. But I know that he'll probably be pretty present there with the Cubs and be a representative for them. I look at the 2014 to 2017 stretch there. I mean, 32 home runs, 31 home runs, 32 home runs, 32 home runs. And then even like the years after that, 25, 27, COVID shortened season where he had 11 home runs, which is the same pace, then 22, then 32 in 2022. Like it's just so consistent from a power output there. And then, 125 career WRC plus. You mentioned the defense, all the different things. Just a really, really solid player.
And I do wonder if his career could have continued. I don't know how much this affected it, but that concussion that he got with the Yankees, because in his first season in New York, guy raked. Put up a 131 WRC plus, hit 32 home
Yeah.
runs, which tied a career high for him. But then in 2023, that play with Fernando Tatis Jr. knocks him around, and then the production just diminished, and then it didn't look like any team wanted to pick him up, and now he's retired. So, I don't know if that truly affected his play. It might have lingered. Again, not sure, not a doctor, I have no idea, but the number drop off is drastic after that happened. I do wonder if, it never would have happened if he would still be playing right now.
Yeah, and I know part of it too. I think he probably could have had the opportunity to go play for a team here or there, take a cheap deal. And I think something that he had said, if I'm not mistaken, was like, I don't want to take some super cheap deal and then I screw all my other vets waiting for a deal and kind of set the market too low. But I think with where he's at, I think he feels pretty good about what he's done and it doesn't need to battle to try to grab onto a roster spot here late. And he can ride off into the sunset as an ambassador for the Chicago Cubs and retire a Cub. I think which he's going to do the day that we're putting this episode out.
Also speaks to the kind of person he is, right? You know, I assume many players, and I wouldn't really hold it against them if they want to keep playing and their deal diminishes others because maybe they get a lower than market deal just because they want to play. I want to play baseball. I still feel like I'm a professional and I want to try and impact a team, and I'm going to take the couple of $1 million because it's a ton of money. So I would understand if a player did it, but it does speak to Anthony Rizzo's character.
100%.
All right, let's draft, Arm. So again, what we are doing is a postseason contender offense draft, but it's not just the teams that can swing it. We're looking at defense. We're looking at base running. We're looking at the entire picture. And maybe down towards the end of the draft, we might want to draft some offenses that are hot right now. Maybe their full season numbers aren't quite as elite. Maybe they had a bad first half, but are starting to pick it up recently. That could factor in to the way that we draft. So we have 8 teams each. That will be the end. A total of 16, which means 8 teams, all within 3 games of the wild card race. Aram, I usually beat you in all the drafts. I usually beat Jack too. It's one
But
of my greatest
you
qualities.
already admitted to the ES on the ES, which I have accused you of.
I don't remember that being
You
ever said.
admitted it on the ESPN Tonight podcast that you draft
What? When did
for the votes.
when did that happen? I don't
I
remember
forget.
that. That's lost. Nobody go listen to that episode. It's not relevant to this conversation. What I do know is I've dominated drafts. Jack, dominate him too. So I'm hopefully going to continue to do that here. So I'll give you the first pick. You want the first pick? Take the first pick.
I'll take the first pick. I'll go because we talked about it. This is speed. This is defense. This is offense as well. Give me the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm going to roll with a team that I think just does a little bit of everything. Dalton Varsho coming back is a big reason why I'm doing this too. Because now I'm just all the way in on the layers that this team has. And I'm not just drafting the star power at the top. We talk about the playoffs and how much teams utilize the bench and can mix and match. And I feel like especially now with IKF on the bench as well, like they can put players in positions to succeed as well as anybody. Where you have Davis Schneider as that lefty killer off the bench who's just ready to go and was a big part of their comeback just the other night, late against the Astros. Just having that guy as a lefty masher to put in specific spots. Miles Straw has a 134 WRC plus in the second half, by the way. Dalton Varsho has 10 homers in his last 31 games. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is all the way back to Vladdy. In the second half, he has a 190 WRC plus. You thought George Springer maybe would slow down? No, he's got a 217 WRC plus in the second half. And Bo Bichette in the second half has a 176 WRC plus. He's slashing 370, 423, 566. So you have, again, one of the most high octane offenses. You have one of the best defensive situations out there with the way that they can pick it all over the diamond. And then you've got a good bench with Ty France even being able to pinch hit and hit lefties as well there. We talked about Tyler Heineman plenty on this show. Like, it's a really, really deep just bag of position players here.
Yeah. I did say I dominate you in drafts, and I want to make fun of this first pick, but they were number 1 on my big board too. You talked a lot about, the second half performances from a lot of the guys, and it's completely true. They also have the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. They have the second highest WRC plus. They have the highest defensive rating on Fangraphs. And when we look at OPS plus with runners in scoring position, this team has also been clutch. 115 OPS plus, second in Major League Baseball. So the combination of defense, speed, and overall offensive output, the Blue Jays are at the top.
Yep. Second half, they're slashing as a team 288, 354, 487 with a 17% strikeout rate, as you alluded to, and a WRC plus that's 9 points higher than the next highest team.
They're just a bitch to get out.
Yep.
Like, they're just a team that gnaws at you, right? They're a very aggressive team. They're one of the few teams in Major League Baseball that is towards the bottom of pitches per plate appearance. They're aggressive. They get on you. But even if they get down in the count, they're also really tough to strike out. It's just a very annoying lineup, but it also has plenty of star power. We're going to go over a lot of the lineups, in the rest of this draft, and some of them are pesky, and that's what makes them great. But just the quality of the Blue Jays is being pesky. They're also elite in a lot of different areas. So Toronto Blue Jays, number 1 pick, and I agree with it.
I
So
love
I'll
it.
go around the turn. So I'll get 2 picks. And then do you want to just go back and forth, or do
Yeah.
you want to keep doing the 2 pick kind of
No, I
thing?
think that's fair. And then we can just go back and forth from there.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take the 2 teams that played in the World Series last year. I know it sounds kind of soft. It's good for the graphic. I'll take number 2, the New York Yankees. They have the highest WRC plus in baseball. The best offensive stat, they're number 1 at 117. And that is, again, higher than the Blue Jays at 114. Now, what's their issue? Well, they got a well below average defense. But in the playoffs, you need big flies. And the Yankees have hit 245 home runs this year. The next best is 213. And they also see a lot of pitches. They get into the bullpen quickly. They have the highest walk rate of any team in Major League Baseball. Of course, you have Aaron Judge, the best hitter on the planet, bar none. But Jazz Chisholm has been awesome. Ben Rice has been awesome. Trent Grisham has been one of the best outfielders in Major League Baseball this year. Point blank, period. Right? You still got Goldie. You got plenty of guys in the lineup. Defense, base running. You got to sacrifice some things, but from a pure offensive output, the numbers don't lie. This is the best offense in baseball. And of course, when we're drafting these units, I'll still take the best offensive unit. Number 2, or anything on the Yankees before I move on, were they your number 2 team?
No.
Wow.
Because of the second half trend, yes, they hit a lot of homers. They also strike out a good bit, and in the second half, they've got a 106 WRC or 111 WRC plus, excuse me, which is ninth. In baseball, still really solid, right? I mean, that's still behind most of the teams that we're going to be drafting here, except for the White Sox. Shout out the White Sox, by
Yeah.
the way that they've been swinging it in the second half.
Also, shout out over 53 and a half
I was
wins.
going to say, I saw you got that. The reason you hit that is 100% because of their offense, and the way that they've been swinging it. I mean, anytime you get the Judge and then playoff Stanton combination, I agree. Like with Jazz and what Rice brings, and then Bellinger, of course. Like I could see
Yeah.
that offense just kicking it into another gear, and no one can really keep up. I mean, if you look at again since the break, the Yankees have 94 homers. The next most is 79, which is the
Yeah.
Phillies. So I can hear it. Like you're rolling the dice on like, can we get hot at the right time here and just slug our way to success? But you know, the defensive side of things makes me a little bit nervous. The ability to get on base, 314 OBP since the break. Those are just the little things that I think I'd go with like a little bit more of a well-rounded situation.
I get that. What I will say is they are still second in F war among all offensive teams. Second, even with the defensive concerns. Because if you look at the numbers, the Yankees aren't quite as bad defensively as everyone, including myself, makes them out to be. Because I feel like some of the defensive issues are so glaring, right? Anthony Volpe, his name has just gotten ran through the mud,
Yeah.
so often. But now you add Ryan McMahon at third, who's not the best hitter in the world, but could definitely lock down the third base position. You still have Dominguez. We'll see how much time he gets in the outfield, right? I'm thinking it's probably going to be Bellinger, Grisham, and Judge. And you still have to watch out for Judge's arm in right field. Still doesn't seem fully healthy, but that's a pretty damn good defensive outfield. So now you hedge a lot of those concerns. Now, at the catching position, I think Ben Rice is a good receiver, but he's not a great defender overall. Austin Wells is a much better defender, but you sacrifice that by putting in the bat. So we'll see how Aaron Boone works around that. But I will hang my hat on the defensive concerns are real, but WAR encapsulates that, and they're still at number 2 in Major League Baseball. So
Yep.
my number 3 team, and this is tough because I think you can go a lot of different directions, but I am going to go with the LA Dodgers.
It's fair.
Their 112 WRC plus is the 4th highest in Major League Baseball. They're also second in home runs. They're also second in walk rate. Max Muncy just got back. Huge addition to the third base spot. Of course, it's been kind of held with Alex Freeland, who, is a rookie, right? So he brings a lot of the Dodgers numbers down because he hasn't exactly broken out offensively yet. And then you get Max Muncy, and we talked about that stat. Since he put on glasses, he's been arguably the best hitter in baseball. So they're adding that back. And they're also adding back Tommy Edman, right? He's supposed to return September 10th, the day we're recording this. So you put him back in the outfield. You take Michael Conforto out. Hopefully, a guy like Teoscar Hernandez can figure it out. I have faith that he can, right? You hope that Andy Paez can get a little bit hotter. You still have Otani, you still have Mookie, you still have Freddie, you still have Will Smith, Muncy. I mean, we could go down the line. And they also have the highest OPS plus in Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position on top of it. So for me, rematch of the World Series of last year, give me the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna get upset about you taking, the Dodgers. It's you get Shohei Ohtani, you get Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and Will Smith having this career year. But Mookie's been better in the second half. I think that's been a big part of it. I think filling in some of the gaps too. Like Miguel Rojas can just plug in and be serviceable, worst case scenario, and that's exactly what he's done. He's been more than fine for them. I think Pages is a big X factor. So is Teoscar, but he did homer the other day. He's starting to slug. It's just like, can he do anything else? But again, those guys are on the outside of a handful of future Hall of Famers and guys that are playing really really well. So I can get behind that. And at the end of the day, when it gets to the playoffs, I don't think there's a lineup I'm more afraid of than looking at Otani, seeing what Freeman did last year, and then Mookie and then Will Smith doing what he's doing this season.
Agreed. We went through all the numbers of the regular season, right? That's a lot of what we're basing this off of, and deservedly so. But these guys have proven it. They've been there. They were by far the best offense in baseball last year. Or actually, the Yankees were right there, but they were by far the best in the National League. They ran through the gauntlet. They crushed it. They won the World Series in 5. Gentlemen's sweep. This offense can rake. So Yankees and Dodgers, who's your number 2 pick?
This is where it gets really tough. And I went back and forth like when I was putting together the big board, and then I just kind of decided I'm just gonna panic select.
We're
Um,
already panicking in the second
yeah,
round.
yeah, we're panicking in the second round because this is where I think it's just the toughest flex point where there's a bunch of different directions you could go. I mean, you look at what the Brewers have been doing, and it's like, how do you pass on them? But then you look at the firepower of the Mets. You look at what the Phillies have done. It's like all of these teams have a really interesting case to be made, and it's kind of picking the hot hand, and that's why I lean towards the Mets.
Mm,
I on the big board I had the Phillies a little bit higher,
wow.
but
You're
I
already
think
going off the big board. Arm, it's the second round. This
it's
is how I
it's a
win these
it's
drafts.
it's just a reference point. I feel so Trey Turner getting hurt is a big part of this because it's the rest of this season, then into the postseason. We'll see what happens there. Um, Juan Soto's now playing at just an unbelievable level
30
where
30 is going to be 40-30.
and it's back to who do you want to face less than him aside from I mentioned Otani? It's a very short list, if any. Lindor has been back to Lindor. Vientos being back to Vientos right at the
Huge.
right time here. If we're talking about just second half numbers, because I think that's the big case with the Mets, right? You look at the bulk season, still good, but you look at the second half, they've been as good of an offense as anybody, especially after the last month. I think the only reason why they're not, you know, falling out of a playoff spot is the offense just somewhat keeping them alive. But Juan Soto has a 166 WRC plus since the break. Francisco Lindor 130, and he's been fantastic. How about Brett Beatty? We have a 42 game stretch here of Brett Beatty slashing 299, 367, 485 with 7 homers. Something's clicked there. Jeff McNeil has come back and been Jeff McNeil, and Vientos has 11 homers in his last 39 games. You're going to get Francisco Alvarez contributing one way or another, and he's still a solid asset to you, whether his hands are feeling good or not. Pete Alonso has actually kind of come down to earth a little bit, I would say, in the second half, and I still expect that guy to kick it into gear and be a big piece for you. Starling Marte all of a sudden looks like he can swing it and be solid for him. Brandon Nimmo is a good piece. Like the depth there is crazy, and then we'll see what they get from Mullins and whoever else. But yeah, I feel like with the guys that have stepped up, like doing what they have done, and then complementing the stars at the top here, this is a force of a team.
It is a force of a team. And we talked about Juan Soto stealing 30 bases. This team's been sneaky good on the base pass. They're 6th in BSR, which is a base running stat on Fangraphs among all the contenders. 4th in stolen bases. The issue is pretty bad defensive team.
Yeah, the defense, as I'm going through all that, I'm like, They're second in stolen bases over the last several months, but yeah,
Yeah.
the defense has been not good.
Yeah.
That's my concern. And you got Lindor at short, great, but Vientos is just a little bit of a liability. We know that. That's where I get a little bit concerned is the defense, and that's where I was thinking Phillies. But if Turner's healthy, I go Phillies there. I definitely do. Um, and then the defense is almost a separator with the Brewers, which I think you could have made the case there too for the Brewers to be, up there.
It's funny. A team that you haven't mentioned is going to be my next pick. And because if I'm looking at what I think to be one of the best, most well rounded units in Major League Baseball, the Chicago Cubs. I know it's been a little bit of a struggle. I understand. The second half numbers are not going to be quite as elite. But if we look at the totality of the season, they're tied for the sixth highest WRC plus among any teams at 108. They have the second best defensive rating of any team, right? So you combine great offense with a great defensive team. They have the fourth best strikeout minus walk ratio. Very well disciplined team at the plate. They're also the third best base running team by BSR. They're the only team with 190 home runs and 145 stolen bases. So if I'm looking at a collection of well-rounded baseball players from 1 to 9, and with Matt Shaw's emergence as well at third base, there's not a lot of holes you can poke. But what will make my pick look a lot better is if Kyle Tucker is back to being Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong is back to being the electric PCA. Right now he's Pete Crow Armstrong. Can he be PCA again?
Yeah.
Can he be that lightning rod that he was in the first half? Now he's going to go through peaks and valleys. But what I'm banking on with this pick is that he'll find a peak in the playoffs. He lives for the bright lights, right? This is going to be a Cubs playoff game. I feel like that's just going to bring it out of him. Now, with the bright lights, does he now get swing happy and he actually falls into one of the deepest, darkest pits possible? Right? We're taking a risk here. But I'm a risk taker. And because the Cubs are so balanced everywhere else, knowing the potential of what PCA could give them if he's hot, I'm actually going to go with the Cubs at number 5.
I hear it. And I think the defensive side of things is interesting. Matt Shaw is just so much fun to watch playing third now. And then you have the Dansby Horner up the middle duo, and then of course PCA in center field. That's going to be tough to beat. I was kind of shocked at the trend though offensively of this team, and
Yeah.
as you mentioned though, sometimes it doesn't matter as much, and they go into the postseason and kind of turn the page and look okay. But that is, and also the stolen base side of things, they're going to steal with the best of them. I think they're third in the game in that regard this year. But yeah, something about the way things have trended for them spooked me a little bit. And maybe that's a little harsh because again, they could turn the page and settle back in. But the fact that they're 22nd in WRC plus since the break,
Yeah.
and just the ways things have looked for them offensively, Tucker should be healthy and should be fine, and that's going to be a big part of this whole thing. But Seiya Suzuki is really struggling. He kind of looks like a shell of himself as well.
Especially in the power department for Seiya.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
And then Michael Bush, he was Barry Bonds in the first half, and
I
then
know.
but I still believe he can just get hot in the playoffs and be just fine.
The way I
Uh,
rationalize it is like for a team to be this good over the totality of the season, like still be among the top 5 in this, top 10 in this, with such a bad second half, it shows how good they can
oh
be
my
in the
gosh,
first
they were the
half.
best offense in baseball for a
Like
large
almost by
stretch.
far for a
Yeah.
while. So it's like at the 5th pick, if I know a team can be number 1, that's when I start to go. But to be perfectly honest with you, and I hate to do this, the Mets were also my number 4. So you're following my big board pretty well. Everyone who's listening, forget I said that when you go vote, but that's just for Aram. 4th. So yeah, I'm going with the Cubs. I'm not in love with it, but you also mentioned Trey Turner's injury. We'll talk about the Phillies in a little bit. I might end up even drafting him and then I'll spin a positive narrative on him. But it gets so close there. I was also considering the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers are, another example of a very well-rounded unit. But when you go to the numbers over the entire season, outside of the Blue Jays, the Cubs are probably the most well-rounded unit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, it makes sense. And then that's where going back to my pick now, like it's funny because I'm thinking about the playoffs now.
yep,
And this is where we maybe you transcend the statistics a little bit. And it's why I gotta go with the vibes in Philly, even without Trey. And
interesting.
Trey should be back for the playoffs.
Yes,
So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, one of my favorite bench infielders in Major League Baseball, aside from Dylan Moore, who was released, and that was really upsetting, is Edmundo Sosa.
your
And
draft is going sour when you go straight to a bench player with your third round pick. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just carving out the whole case.
You're carving it
So,
out slowly, slowly.
so the fact that you're not plugging in just a gaping hole at shortstop, and you can move around and try some different things. Like Sosa, I think is a second division regular. I do think he's capable of being that up the middle. But the big reason why is this: Kyle Schwarber is having the best season of his career. Bryce Harper is still Bryce freaking Harper, and we continue to see that. Uh, I still think Trey Turner is going to play a part. I absolutely love the Harrison Bader acquisition and what that has done for Brandon Marsh and how these two have now thrived together. Brandon Marsh and Harrison Bader in the second half, a 158 WRC plus from Bader and a 147 from Brandon Marsh. Both those guys can go get it in the outfield. JT Realmuto showing signs of life. And then how about Bryson Stott? We're talking about second half guys. We did that episode, right? Bryson Stott's been one of their best hitters in the second half.
Yeah.
So this is me banking on vibes a little bit more. And you talk about home runs and that side of things. You've got the Schwarber at Harper combination. And right now, like you're in a playoff series. Who are you more afraid of right now? Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper?
Well, you talked about Juan Soto earlier. I think Schwarber's closer to that conversation that he is right now to the Harper situation.
Correct. So the fact that Bryce Harper, one of the best postseason performers we've seen, is maybe the second most intimidating guy in the lineup right now with the way that Kyle Schwarber is swinging it. I love Harper in that role. And then again, you hope you get Turner back, and that's the expectation. And then I just feel like the complementary pieces are as solid as they have been around. I just this Phillies team is damn good on the offensive side of things. I don't think there's any doubt in that.
So what I will say is the Phillies were eighth on my board. I'm a little bit lower on them just because we give Bryce Harper all the credit in the world. And, betting against Bryce Harper is not a good bet in the playoffs. That's a fact. But what I will say is it's gone down consistently, kind of year over year. He doesn't put the fear in me like he used to. And what I mean by that is I'm not including Harper in the Judge, Otani, Freeman, Jordan, Soto, Schwarber conversation anymore. Still a feared hitter. Still definitely don't want to face him with guys on in a big situation, but it's not quite the Bryce Harper of old. You mentioned Trey Turner. Agreed. I think he's going to be back by the playoffs. It was a grade 1 hamstring strain, so it's not as bad as the one that held him out for 6 weeks. There was a report that he will be back for the postseason, so I'm perfectly fine with you penciling him back into the shortstop position. But off a hamstring injury, is he the same Trey Turner? Just because he's going to be back doesn't mean he's back to being the exact player that he's been this year, which is a 6.5 win player, one of the best overall players in the sport. And I'm just not in love with these complementary players. Like JT is not the catcher that he once was. Bryson Stott, I agree with you. He's had a great second half. He's not really a part of this conversation that I'm saying. Alec Boehm just got put on the IL. Not exactly sure what they're going to do at third base. I don't love the outfield. Like Castellanos has been one of the worst players in baseball. I don't even know how much run he's going to get in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
that's I'm off the bench. Go hit lefties. Fine with me.
And that's okay. But like Bader, Marsh, Kepler, like you can spin a narrative but at the end of the day,
Bader's
like,
been good all year.
yeah, no, he has been good all year. He has. It's just, no, I like Bader. I'm just a little bit lower on them than the other guys on my board.
Bryce Harper's lost 3 postseasons. So if you want to could talk about him being in the conversation with the other guys, I think he is,
All
especially in
I'm
the
saying, go
postseason.
year by year instead of combining them together.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to just do what last year? It was
Just
only
get
4 games, but in those 4 games, he slashed 333, 529, 750 for a 1279 OPS. If you go 2023 and 2024 combined, it's still pretty ridiculous numbers here. If I can get this thing to unfreeze, but the numbers for him in the postseason just continue to be pretty ridiculous. I mean, okay, so 2023 and 2024, it's a 17 game sample. 296, 472, 667 slash line, 6 home runs in 17 games. That's 16 hits with a pair of doubles as well and 3 bags. Um, that sounds pretty scary to me.
No, it is. And those numbers are definitely good. I think it's the regular season that's starting to seep into my brain a little bit, right? He's still been 30% above league average if we're looking at WRC plus, right? He's still got his 24 home runs. But this current version of Bryce Harper is hitting 263, 352, 491. Still a very good hitter. I'm curious to see if he replicates those incredible numbers that he has put up in the postseason. Again, I wouldn't be surprised. Just in my mind, I'm not penciling him straight in for that again. If it's a little bit lower and Trey Turner doesn't come back from that injury as well as we might hope he does, Schwarber is going to hit a ton of bombs. He's awesome. There you got nothing from there for me. But then it's just the other complementary pieces. I'm not as high on them as I am on my next pick, which is the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, if we're looking at the full scope of an offensive unit, they're the best base running team by BSR. Point blank, best base running team. They're tied for the sixth highest WRC plus at 108. They're a top five defensive team among contenders. Brewers play great defense. They have the fifth highest WAR among all teams in baseball. They have the third best strikeout minus walk rate. And they're the only contender with 150 plus stolen bases. You look around their lineup. We could talk a lot about second half performances. Has there been anybody better than Bryce Terang? I mean,
No.
he just continues to swing it so well. Contreras has been better. You still have Yelich, right? You just go up and down the lineup. It's not the sexiest of names, but everyone does their part. And then on top of it, it's not the greatest offensive team, but it's still a pretty damn good one. And then when you look at base running, you look at defense, you look across the board, right? It almost seems like they have one goal. They're playing for something. It feels like 1 to 9, it's the most cohesive unit among all these that we have left to draft, except maybe the Blue Jays and the Cubs would be exactly in that conversation. But with the Brewers, I feel so safe because going down the lineup, I feel confident that somebody's going to do something special. Where with the Phillies, it feels a little bit more boom or bust, which to your point, the boom is going to be higher than the Brewers. But I feel safer knowing that the Brewers are going to be very, very good in every single category.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited about what Contreras and Terang are doing. And I think that's a huge development. Chorio, I mean, what he can bring to you, and we saw it in the postseason last year. Like, I think the fact that a couple of their guys have gotten that taste of it is absolutely huge. And what Chorio's done now, he's starting to do that thing where he goes crazy down the stretch of the season as well. But I do look at this lineup and say, okay, well, if well, now that Terang is a power hitter,
Yeah,
but
he is.
if you keep Contreras and even Yelich a little bit in check from a power perspective, like you mentioned the home runs,
Yeah,
who's going to get those for you? And maybe it's that Terang,
it's Terang.
maybe it's Chorio. Um, Andrew Vaughn makes me a little uncomfortable,
Yeah,
but
he had an unbelievable start with Milwaukee. Then he took a nosedive. And over the last week, he's been a little bit better. I'm saying, can Andrew Vaughn be a decent 7 hitter in the playoffs? I think
very
that's
possible,
possible.
very possible.
So
I
again,
love I like that this team top to bottom is going to give you good at bats. They're going to play good defense. They're not going to, I think, lose games for themselves. And
No.
I don't see that happening. And I think that's what makes them really interesting. I I think from a statistical standpoint, I definitely gravitate towards Milwaukee. And we've said it. I've said on the show a bunch. Like I do think this is a different Milwaukee team than other years, but I am, I guess, valuing that veteran aspect with the Phillies and the fact that you have Schwarber on this like career year and Turner. We'll see how he looks when he comes back, but on this kind of best year of his career since I think that 2021 season. Um, and then just the postseason allure of Harper. Whereas with Milwaukee, I don't know how many guys have been there, done that, and that's an interesting conversation in this thing. But I do think this is a better team than the Milwaukee teams that have fizzled in the playoffs. So I don't think that's the case. I just think it is a separator for the Phillies. But the way they can defend is 100% a differentiator. And then the way that they can do all the little things, right? I mean, they're going to get those extra 90 feet that are so important in the playoffs. They're going to go first to third. They're going to do a lot of things that I think can win them ball games. So, I mean, I had them, right there as well, and I was leaning towards taking them. But I'm going with the boom side of things with the Phillies.
No, I get it. Because I'm also banking on a couple of things. There's a lot of rookies in this Brewers lineup,
Yeah.
right? Caleb Durbin. What is he going to do in the playoffs? We have no idea. But he's been better of late. Isaac Collins.
I just think that guy is unflappable. Like
Grinder.
I do see him right, but it's still valid against a rookie going into the playoffs.
Again, we think so. Like, and that's why I picked him. I think Isaac Collins is still going to be a solid player, but we have no idea. But I also think about it like this: do the Phillies have a better outfielder than Sal Frelick?
That's a funny question.
You know,
I would say statistically speaking, Bader's right there, but obviously, like I think Frelick's just a better player.
and I was going across the diamond. I was like, all right, the Phillies have a better DH in Schwarber. I would take Trey Turner over Joey Ortiz.
Yeah, I would say so. I think even right now,
I would
like
take
like Trey Turner's hamstring is very strained right now. I think I'm still taking him.
I would take Bryce Harper over Andrew Vaughn. I think those are all fair.
Yeah,
But I think the Brewers win the next six. And then when we're
fair.
talking defense and we're talking base running, they're deeper and they'll win on the margins. Like the Phillies aren't the greatest base running team. They're not a very good defensive team either. You're just kind of hoping that Schwarber hits a bunch of bombs and Bryce Harper hits a bunch of bombs. And now saying that out loud, I'm like, well, I also think that. You know?
I know. Well, it's funny because I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, you've been going nuts about the Brewers all year long and how they just the perfectly like well-rounded baseball team, and then you go with
And then you're
the
like,
shiny toy.
and then you're like, Schwarber hit bombs. I want.
Schwarber hit bombs, Harper playoffs. Sign me up.
All right. So right now, so far in the draft, you have the Blue Jays, Mets, and Phillies. I have the Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs, and Brewers. It's clear I'm winning the draft. You need to nail this pick.
I need to nail it.
You need to nail it. Don't panic again.
I panic every single time. I never know. I always think about it, and then I just end up panic ordering here.
Like when
I
you're at
wish
a
I could get.
restaurant and the menu is so big.
I literally wait for the waiter to come, and then I just panic and just pick one every time. So
We're
that's
waiting.
what I'm feeling. You know what? It's time for a quick break.
All right.
All right, now that I bought myself a few seconds there, I didn't get as much time as those ads that you were served. It was about 5 more seconds for me. But I will go with.
And what I will say before you make your pick, that was cheating. We had a perfect ad break right in between the 8 teams because then we have 8 teams left. But instead, you just go, you know what? We're 7 teams in. I need an ad break. I need it. So just everybody listening, when you go vote on the graphic, just remember Aram needed an ad break.
Yeah, I'm pro ads.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Seattle Mariners. I'm gonna go with the Seattle Mariners because they have the best player on the planet, in Julio Rodriguez.
Yes, they do. That is
Yeah.
true.
No, but you have Cal.
Yes.
who is, I mean, putting up the most ridiculous catcher season ever. J-Rod, he's good in the second half. We haven't gotten a ton of opportunity to see him in the playoffs, but like we know that he does that second half thing
Yeah,
every year, and he's
I have no
doing
issue
it
with them at
again.
all.
He's an animal. Randy, that home run yesterday as we're recording this was really like just he's gonna rise to the occasion. We know
Of
about
course he
playoff
is.
Randy, but he's already kind of kicking it into that playoff Randy gear right now. Big 3-run shot. He was celebrating it like he was in the Lidom. It was pretty awesome. And then just you talk about complementary pieces, and we compare like Gino Suarez is just starting to get going here. I still think I'll trust him even if he sucks the rest of this regular season that he can have a hot postseason. Josh Naylor's looked like a phenomenal acquisition for them. And talk about value on the base paths. Naylor's got 14 bags in his last 39 games. He's been a stolen base machine since joining the org. And then even looking at some of the other just fill-in pieces, I know he's come down to earth a good bit, but Dom Canzone filling in here and there, things like that. But I think it's more just about the force at the top of Cal, this version of Julio, then a Rosarena in the playoffs, and Gino Suarez. Just I still think he's going to be a feared, power bat. And then you've got good stuff coming from Polanco and everything too. So I just think this offense is as good as we've seen it in really years.
It was so funny when I was going over the numbers. My initial thought is I was going to have the Mariners much higher, but I didn't. And I love the star power. There's plenty of great bats on the team. But when you look at the numbers, they're pretty bad on the margins. What I mean by that is they're a very poor defensive team by the numbers. Like Julio can really go get it in center. Cal is a very solid defensive catcher. You look across the diamond, though, not a lot of great defenders there. And then you look at some of the base running. You mentioned Naylor's got those 14 stolen bases in 39 games. That is incredible. But on this list, they're one of the worst base running teams by BSR.
Yeah,
Which
and
isn't a
I don't
perfect
think he's getting those
statistic.
bags. He's not getting those bags in the postseason the
You
same
never
way.
know. I'm not going to doubt him right now. He's stealing bases at will. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get those either. So with them, I feel like you're really hanging your hat on guys like Gino and Cal hitting the amount of home runs that they have kind of in the regular season, because we've also seen what they've done on the road. I mean, this
Yeah,
team is just
that is the big
cratered,
concern.
right? So if I have big road issues, if I have a team that I need everything to work to hit, and now, can you call me hypocritical? I did pick the Yankees, right? And the Yankees have some of these issues. But if you look at the numbers, they're not as bad defensively as Seattle. They're a better base running team, and their offensive output has been better. So that's why I can kind of hang my hat on still talking about some of the inefficiencies with Seattle. And it's like I want to like them a lot more. But, and again, there's so many home runs, right? They're one of three teams in baseball with over 200 home runs this year. They can swing it with everybody. And that doesn't even include all of Gino's home runs with Arizona,
They
right?
lead the league in stolen bases in the second half.
That's interesting. It's funny when a team is bad metrically, like going first to third
Yeah.
and,
Randy's probably
scoring,
running into outs.
yeah, scoring, on a single with a runner on second, like all of those little things, but they do make up for it in the stolen base department. I wonder if that translates, into the playoffs. I assume it will. Like I think J-Rod's going to get his. I think Randy's going to get his.
Randy's gonna get his.
Yeah, so again, don't hate the pick. I actually had the Brewers, or excuse me, I had the Mariners higher than the Phillies.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
I'm just a little bit lower on the Phillies offense. Trey Turner thing scares me, and I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
Trey Turner
relying,
thing is scary.
and I'm just relying on Turner and Harper. All right, before I get to my next pick, or next break. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm writing down Mariners for you. So my next pick is, and really I had them like kind of tied with the Phillies. Give me the Detroit Tigers. Again, another pretty well-rounded unit. 105 WRC plus, ninth best WRC plus among contenders. Very solid base running team. They're in the top 10 of BSR. league average defensive team. They're not the greatest defensive team. They're not a bad defensive team. It's just one of those where defense won't, swing anything in any particular direction. But they are a clutch team. They have the fourth highest OPS plus with runners in scoring position. And I look at this Tigers offense, like last year was all about bullpen chaos. And basically we were waiting for Kerry Carpenter or Riley Green to take somebody deep. And there was a lot of 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 type wins for Detroit, which can happen when your pitching is that good. But this Detroit team, there's a reason they're 8 games up in the division. It's because of this offense has been awesome, right? They didn't have a catcher last year like Dylan Dingler, who has put up a 108 WRC plus and a 751 OPS. Zach McKinstry has been better. Wenzel Perez has been awesome. You still got Torque, you still got Green, you still got Kerry Carpenter. Gleyber Torres is as solid as ever, and Parker Meadows is starting to swing the bat a little bit more. Like there is nobody in their lineup I say, all right, that's the out. So when I'm comparing to other teams, some I see a much better front five, but then it dies off a little bit. With Detroit, I feel like every single time you're putting somebody to the plate, even Cole Keith when he's been struggling a little bit right now, I still have faith in him as like an eighth hitter, right? Is that what he's going to be in the Tigers lineup? I just keep going up and down, and I'm like, I have good faith in all of them. They don't have a Cal Raleigh. They don't have a Schwarber, but they just are so damn solid. They're pretty good on the margins. I like this offense in Detroit.
Yeah. No, I can get behind that. I this is the best the offense looked. It's definitely better. And I like that I like the bullpen chaos. That was kind of their angle last year. I think their angle this year, of course, it's gonna see go with Tarek Skubal and win that game, but they're gonna swing it. They're gonna need to score some runs, and I think it's gonna be a lot less one dimensional here this year because of the balance from top to bottom and just the way that they've been able to fill in that lineup. I mean, you look throughout it now. There's no automatic out. I mean, there's nobody that really looks like aside from like Meadows is kind of that guy when you look at the cumulative numbers this year, but as you mentioned, he's been a little bit better of late. And if Meadows slash Javi Baez, if you want to go like platoon situation there as your 9 hitter and playing defense, well, like that's gonna work. And all these guys were almost all these guys were there last year. So I like it, and I think the postseason experience on this young team at the same time is valuable. And I like their bench too. I think they've got some good pieces coming off the bench that could be helpful as well. So I don't hate that pick at all. I did have them 38th on my big board, but I get it.
You mentioned Edmundo Sosa. I'll raise you Jahmai Jones.
Jahmai Jones,
155 WRC plus. He's having a great year.
He's been nuts.
You plugging that bat off the bench? Him versus Edmundo Sosa UFC fight. Who wins? Who comes out of the cage?
I'm gonna love the war I'm getting defensively from Sosa. I'll tell you that.
I'll take the bat. But at least you get to plug with a good defender. That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
I'll go with an offense that got better since the deadline, and I don't think it's fully reflected in the cumulative year stats. It's the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
This is a different offense now. This is with Ramon Laureano, with Ryan O'Hearn. It's a different offense. You also add Freddie Fermin, who I know hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but you know what he's really good at? Not being Martin Maldonado.
He is good at
that. That's all I need. We'll see what the Bogart situation is. Jackson Merrill has had a really unfortunate year. We were talking about it in the company group chat. Like I just think injuries have really affected him, and then the concussion as well. But I still think he's a guy that could just ignite at any moment. Tatis is Tatis, and by the way, he's defended.
Now that you drafted the Padres, I actually don't think Merrill's going to bounce back. The more I think
now you disagree. Yeah,
even though I have a Padres future to win the World Series and I need him, and when I'm writing it up come playoff time, I'm going to say he's going to bounce back. But for this draft, there's no shot on him. There's no shot.
That might be one of the worst contracts in baseball history, right?
Yes. Take the pre-arb money.
Yep. Him and Christian Campbell, it's like the same thing.
Oh, that's so mean.
No, like this is a player that I think he's built for it. I think he could get hot in Merrill and have a really good finish to the season. say what you want about Luis Arias, going to put the ball in play. He's not going to strike out. He
It's
stretched out the
true.
lineup a little bit.
Plenty of plenty of double plays coming off Luis
Yeah,
Arias'
he's
bat.
going to end a lot of innings. Save the time. Think about it. And then
True.
you just
Quicker games.
start fresh next inning. Uh,
Yeah.
I do like the length of this lineup now. I really do, and I think it's reflective in the way that they have played in the second half. From an offensive perspective, they're eighth in WRC plus. They've got, I think, a lot of different ways that they're impacting the game. Now the defense could be a little bit better, but I mean, you're looking at a team here that I believe, other than Toronto and Kansas City, striking out the third least, and now they've added some slug with Laureano and O'Hearn.
Yeah, it's so funny when you look at name value with the additions of O'Hearn and Laureano and Fermin, you could make an argument this team could be taken in the top five. I mean, they're that good when they're on, right?
Yeah.
It's still the San Diego Padres offense with Machado, Tatis, Merrill, all of these guys. Like, there's no rest in the lineup. I was just talking about Detroit. When those guys are on in San Diego, that's taken to the nth degree. I think why we're cooling and why they fell in this draft is that they've just been mediocre.
Hmm.
And Merrill is such an X factor for this team. I mean, in the
Yeah.
playoffs last year, just overall last year, he was arguably the best center fielder in baseball, or at least up
Yeah.
there with anybody. But this year, it's just you mentioned the reasons why. I just don't know if he's gonna.
Yeah, he might need an off season. It's
Yeah,
very possible.
and that's huge,
Yeah,
right? Because if
and
he's not at his peak,
no, it's a
they
different
need
team.
everyone they can get.
And then Bogart's being hurt.
Yeah.
Bogarts is not the Xander Bogarts we saw in Boston, but he has turned himself into, especially this year, still above average, solid regular out there.
He is.
He's turned himself into a better defender by the metrics. He's not a total slouch offensively. He was a 103 WRC plus, 10 homers, 20 bags. That's a career high there. Like, he's looking for different ways that he can impact the game. Clearly moving as well as ever at the position and on the base paths. You feel that with him being hurt right now. And, I don't know what his timeline is necessarily starting to like resume, baseball activities. And, we'll see what exactly that means. I think he'll be back for the postseason for sure. But we'll see exactly what that timing is. But of course, getting him back will be helpful. I like the length at this point, and you have still the star power of Tatis and Merrill and Manny Machado get
Yeah.
hot. Like, that's still a team that can get there and compete with anybody. Remember, they're a year removed from pushing the Dodgers to the brink.
100%. For my next pick, now we're getting towards the end of the draft where you can look at the numbers, of course, and there might be a few in your favor, but when you put your head down on the pillow, who is the team that makes you sleep soundest? Who's inevitable? The Houston Astros. Now, when you look at the statistics this year, not great. The Astros have not been a good offense overall. Now, a lot of that has to do with injuries. This team has been battered and bruised all season long, right? They've lost Jeremy Pena for extended periods of time. They lost Yordan Alvarez for the majority of the season. You've gotten really sour performances from guys like Christian Walker and Yainer Diaz. But Yordan's swinging the bat better. They bring in Carlos Correa. I know there's no more Isak Paredes, but of course you have Carlos Correa still there. I know this team, when the lights turn on, is gonna show up. And I think that's what I'm hanging my hat on. Like, there's so many great postseason performers in here. Jake Myers, adding him back to the lineup is
Yeah,
big.
huge.
When we're looking at defense, like Mauricio Dubon is going to be up there for the platinum glove. He has been so good defensively in so many different positions. He's really the ultimate Swiss Army knife. And, he could put together a couple clutch hits in the postseason as well when they slot him in. Really, the way this pick makes me look good is if Christian Walker and Yainer Diaz snap the hell out of it.
Well, and Jordan just being back and being Jordan is just, it
Yeah,
changes everything.
so huge. And we know, right, when the Astros are clicking, it's kind of similar to the Padres. If they're clicking, they could be taken in the top 5 here. The reason they've fallen is because they haven't at all. So we're just kind of hoping. But the reason I'm comfortable taking him here is if I'm starting to get into the hope category, who else would you buy outside of the Astros? That's why for me, you still have Altuve, one of the greatest power hitters in postseason history, at 5'6". It's a fact. He's one of
Yeah.
the. I think he has 27 postseason home runs. You got Jordan, you got Pena. I'm hoping that Yiner and Christian Walker bounce back a little bit. You still got Jake Myers. Caratini has been actually a pretty solid bat this year. Give me the Astros. I like him at this spot.
I like the just you have some of the best. You're just taking some of the best postseason performers in the history of the game late here.
Yeah.
I can't argue against that at all. I think that's very fair. Um, I how many more picks do I have? Three.
So right now, I have drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11. So we have 5 picks left. You have 3. I have 2.
Okay. This is another like swing for the fences kind of offensive play, I guess. Because this is where you look at a lot of teams and they all are pretty flawed right now in different ways, except for one that I think is trending in the right direction. And I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants.
Wow. Yeah.
They rake.
Yeah, they do.
They rake. And they can defend. Matt Chapman at third. Jung-Hoo Lee's coming to life, baby. He's been great of late. Rafael Devers has been fantastic of late. Willie Adames has been really, really good of late. And that's why this team won't die. Willie Adames is probably going to break the 30 home run curse.
Yep.
He's going to break the Barry Bonds curse that we hear about so often. Patrick Bailey actually is hitting better than a pitcher in the last few months, and that's one of the best defensive probably the best defensive catcher in the sport, right? I feel like just the offensive onslaught at the top of this lineup here, with enough in the complementary pieces. Since they brought up Drew Gilbert, he's added a little bit of depth to the lineup. Luis Matos has been pretty good since he came up, but I just love the Devers, Adames, Chapman, Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee kind of just run down there that, I mean, can definitely mash.
Yeah, I think I would have been between them and my next pick. And my next pick, I might as well just get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
I'll go with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
With the Roman Anthony injury, I'm just left looking at this team and I'm like, all right, shit. Like, who else?
No Willier.
I know. But still have Duran, still have Bregman. We were talking about a postseason performer. I'll take Alex Bregman, in conversations with the best in baseball. Nate Lowe has come over and done really well. Is that real? Have I been watching that on TV? Are my eyes not deceiving me? Is that real? That is real. Nate Lowe is like an actual player for them.
So is Yoshida, though. He's
Yeah.
playing for them, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. And they got
Nick
other
Sogard.
problems. Yeah, I'm not. We're at this point of the draft.
Yeah.
We're at this point of the draft, but Trevor Story's been much better as well. They've been a good defensive team because Rafael is just such a stud out there. So I can hang my hat on that. They're not a bad.
He's hitting 191 in his last 50 games.
Yeah.
531 OPS.
I haven't heard a lot from Rafaela Enjoyer on Twitter.
I have not either. I don't think he's been enjoying much other than that grab was sick, though.
Unbelievable grab against Corbin Carroll. Yeah, at this point of the draft, and Red Sox fans are probably upset with this analysis. I just real talk, I don't love the offense at all, especially without Roman Anthony.
Yeah. I think Roman, he was their best hitter since he came up. And then what he brought at the top of that lineup, I think the Willier thing really hurts. And now all of a sudden these guys that I loved in their roles, Romy in a platoon role, awesome. Ref Snyder in a platoon role, awesome.
Yeah, we're really good against lefties. So when we see some lefties in the postseason, we get Ref Snyder out there who's an MVP candidate against lefties. Roby Gonzalez, Story, Bregman, we can hit lefties.
It's just you're now rolling those guys out into situations where they're not as like destined to be successful, and it's tough. And this offense over the last few months has been just not good. Just simply not good. But I think at this stage, it is probably the best pick. I for me that they were the best available on my board.
It's so funny. The Red Sox were actually decently high on my board. I mean, not really. They were number 11, but I was like, why did I rank the Red Sox above the Astros? Give me the Astros. And then I had the Giants at 13, and I was like, yep, I probably would have gone them too over the Red Sox. Roman Anthony is such a killer, but we don't have to harp on it too much. Red Sox fans, give us I want to know thoughts on this offense right now. Where are we at without Roman? Can we still
Yeah,
overcome? You let us know in the YouTube comments below. Arm, we got 3 teams left. Not great choices.
this is where it gets really tough.
Yeah, this is where you just
This
go
is
with your
where
gut. You go with your gut.
you go with your gut, and then the fan bases will be upset with us. Like,
It is what
how
it
could you
is.
how could you take the Rangers over the Royals or vice versa? I don't know. I don't know. I the Rangers would be a layup if $500 million worth of players are not in the IL right now.
That is challenging when Seager, Semien, and Adolis are all in the
But
IL.
they
But
also decided to be the best team ever during that stretch.
also, Semien and Adolis have been like the worst hitters on the Rangers this year, so it's not a bad idea to slot in Cody Hellman, who's the greatest
Who's
player
the
alive.
best player I've ever seen in my life?
I mean, what a game against Milwaukee.
He did everything.
Robbed home run. He said, I was like, okay, I guess this is real. Josh Smith is really solid, but with no Seager in the lineup, I'm watching this Rangers team and I'm watching them beat the Brewers. Like, I don't want to take anything away from them. I'm just like, I don't know how this is happening. Like, this doesn't match my brain's thoughts about the Rangers, but they're
Yeah,
winning. So how can you doubt them? So I would also take the Rangers next pick.
but I'm not.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with the Royals.
Interesting.
We're just because I read a headline that was Corey Seager hoping to get back
Oh, well,
for the playoffs.
one thing, you already screwed up the draft. You can take them, but the Royals are 4 out. They're not even on the big
Oh,
board.
we can't even take him. No, then I'm taking the Rangers.
Dang it.
I'm taking the Rangers. I didn't, as I said it, and I was looking at Tyler Tolbert, and I was not feeling great. um, yeah, we'll go Rangers here. I can't believe where the Reds' offense has been of late.
So bad.
We'll go Rangers. Flip side, they're doing it without Seager.
Yeah, they are.
Let's see what they can do. But you're going to get him back for the playoffs if you do make it. But we need them to make it here. But the way the guys have kind of stepped up, I mean, it is impressive. I think a lot of it has been pitching driven to a degree. But this Rangers team is playing the best ball, I think, of the teams that are remaining. So you hope that you get Semien or Seager back, but they're just piecing it together. Wyatt Langford has been fantastic, of late. You mentioned Hellman just doing what he's doing. I don't get how they're doing it right now because when you look at the offense and you look at the team, it doesn't make a ton of sense. But I'll roll with I think just some more established players on this ball club, and even some of the like Jock Peterson's even showing signs of life now here. I'll roll with the little bit more vet ball club and hope that you get a couple of your guys back here and Seager and Semien and even Adolis.
Another missed opportunity by you. Didn't even mention that they won the World Series in 2023. I would have just hung my hat on that, being like, I have that offense. I have a World Series champion offense, and you don't.
Yeah,
What could I have said to that?
fantastic.
So I'll give that one over to you. All right, so we got 2 teams left, both in Ohio. Ugh. I rank the Reds higher. Not in love with it. Ellie De La Cruz hasn't hit a home run in like 3 months, but he's still Ellie De La Cruz. Novi Marte has been a great addition to this lineup. Austin Hayes, Gavin Lux, TJ Friedel's been solid. Tyler Stevenson is a pretty good offensive catcher, strikes out a ton. I don't love him. But you bring in Sal Stewart. He's been okay since he's come up. Miguel Andujar is one of the greatest bench bats in the history of the world. Matt McClain, how do I spin this? Matt McClain has been pretty good lately. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Pretty
I would
good
say so.
lately. Yeah, he's been pretty good lately. I've been
Yeah.
watching him lately. He's had some big hits. He's also had some just, huge moments where he just doesn't do anything. But that's just been his problem all year. I mean, Brian Hayes, good defender, which
I'll give you
matters in this.
last 25 games, you got a 730 OPS from Matt McClain.
Don't you think that's pretty good the way I
Yeah,
said
that'll
it?
play.
Yeah. I almost said the stat in my tone. Pretty good.
It's crazy. I thought they'd be doing a lot better, but there's a little bit more of this like upside. Just if they're hot kind of thing that you could talk yourself into. I think with this
In
team.
Great American Ballpark, couple home runs. The other team's probably going to hit some home runs too, but maybe we outslug them, even though we're not that good of a slugging team. But it's a good base running team. It's not a bad defensive team, and it's not a good defensive team by any stretch of the imagination. But it's not bad. It's better than the Guardians. That's where we're
Yeah,
at right now. It's
yeah.
we have 2 picks left. They're better than the Guardians.
And then you give me the Guardians.
Yeah,
So we roll with the guards. I look at Manzardo's hitting homers. I get Jose Ramirez.
you do.
I'll take that any day of the week. By the way, Chase DeLauder playing in the Arizona Fall League again. So that I
That's
think he might end up becoming one of the most tenured Arizona Fall League players. But just glad he's going to be back and healthy for that. But yeah, I mean, you do get at least the top end of J Ram, Manzardo, Quan. After that, I don't have much of a case to make.
so. These are the teams: Aram, Blue Jays, Mets, Phillies, Mariners, Padres, Giants, Rangers, and Guardians. My team: Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs, Brewers, Tigers, Astros, Red Sox, Reds. How do you think you did?
I think I won.
I think I won easily.
We'll see the votes, which you will win. You always win the votes. You always win the popular vote.
It's just because I picked the right team every time.
Yep. Yep.
It is what it is. Minor league cheat sheet time.
Yep. Let's do it real quick. We'll talk about some of the best performers, and one of them, thank goodness, is a Guardian, Travis Bazzana. Maybe I should actually make the case that if the Guardians make the playoffs, they find a way to get an exemption and get him onto that ball club because probably can't be worse than what they've got going on right now. That said, it was a little bit of a rough stretch when he came back from injury, but then Bazzana, he has really hit his stride over the last 10 games, and specifically over the last handful of games. 4 homers in his last 6 games in AAA Columbus for the Guardians. But I think the other thing that really stands out to me is how extremely and insanely patient he has been. Over his last 20 games, he's slashing 243. So you think, oh, no, 398 OBP, 473 slug. It's good for an 871 OPS, 19% walk rate, 22% K rate, a 10% chase rate in that span. He's going to probably skew towards that 3 true outcome type of second baseman, but I think as the hit tool continues to develop, maybe he can cut down on that whiff and be that powerful high walk and good OBP second baseman. But he's clearly finishing the year in a way that you can look at him and say maybe that's a guy that can break camp for you next year. Another player that kind of fits the same conversation, just a little bit different, is Walker Jenkins. He was hurt at points this year for the Twins, and now gets up to AAA. Needed a few games to get his feet under him, and basically over his last 7 games in AAA has just started to go nuclear. 13 hits. He's hitting 448, 484, 690 while playing center field mostly as well. Only 1 homer in that span, but 2 doubles, a triple. He's not striking out much, and what he does best is just hit hard line drives all over the ballpark. And I mean, that's what I think is going to ultimately give him a chance to break in with the big league club next year, especially with how young they're going, still just 20 years old. Rafael Flores, he was acquired in that Bednar trade from the Yankees, and Flores has really started to hit his stride. And another guy in AAA for the Pirates that could probably get up to the big leagues next year and maybe break camp. Last 15 games for him as a catcher who's a phenomenal receiver, and the defense continues to come along. 4 homers. He's slashing 321, 365, 607. That's a 972 OPS. Most importantly, though, not striking out much. Only a 22% K rate there for him. And all of a sudden on the year, an 830 OPS. He looks like he could end up kind of taking over their catching role. And you think about what they've got going on there with the struggles of Henry Davis and what Flores brings to the table. I think he could end up catching a little bit more, but they've also been running him at first base a bit as well. Recent guest of the call up, Ryan Waldschmidt, has been one of the best hitters in the minor leagues. Arizona Diamondbacks first rounder in 2024, got up to double A, didn't miss a beat there. And now in his last 30 games in double A, also was an awesome guy on the call up. Great interview. Really smart hitter. Makes sense that he's been able to make these leaps so easily. Last 30, he's hitting 388, 496, 621. Six homers in that span, nine stolen bases, and more walks than strikeouts for the outfielder. We talked about it on the show. He's made huge leaps defensively, and now the Diamondbacks are even giving him some run in center field to see what he can do out there. I mean, if he can even be just an above average defender in a corner, with the ability to walk that he brings to the table, with the ability to pull the ball hard in the air that he consistently shows, this is a really fun player that could move through the minor leagues pretty quickly. Stop me if you heard this before. The Brewers have another guy and another 2024 draftee, Blake Burke. Last 30 games for him, and a big portion of that is up in double A, where he has just gotten better at the double A level. First baseman slashing 304, 372, 591 with nine homers in that 30 game span and just a 23% K rate. He has hit a ball as hard as 117 miles per hour this year. He has a chance to be a massive power bat here for the Brewers. The chase is a little bit high, so that's one thing to monitor, but the feel to hit is there, and he has been elevating the ball a little bit more than he ever really has. And then the last hitter, before I get to a couple pitchers, Leo DeVries. This guy is just incredible. Of course, the Athletics, they acquired him in that Mason Miller deal, and DeVries, you'd think at 18 years old, getting to double A, which is where they promoted him not long after the trade, he'd maybe hit a little bit of a snag. Nope. His last 20 games, which is mostly double A and a couple high A games, 304, 387, 582 slash line, four homers, 11 extra base hits. This is a switch hitting 18-year-old shortstop, by the way. And in that span, only a 20% K rate, 11% walk rate.
Wow.
18 in double A. Wrapping up with two pitchers. David Shields of the Royals organization has been amazing. And now, some people were asking, why is he not a top 100 prospect yet? By the way, he turned 19 yesterday. The velo is it's only 19 or it's only 90 miles per hour. So that's definitely something that needs to tick up a little bit, but he's young and it's an athletic delivery. The curveball looks like a potential plus pitch as well, and he's flashed the changeup, but he's just dismantling with his pitchability and some deception, dismantling low A hitters. Last 11 starts, 47 innings, a 1.72 ERA, 30% strikeout rate, 4% walk rate. That is stupid stuff from an 18-year-old, now 19, in low A. And then another teenage arm in low A. Stop me if you heard this one before. The Braves, they may have identified another arm here, and they're probably going to move him quickly through the minor leagues going into next season. Cam Caminiti, their first-round pick in 2024, has been fantastic. He turned 19, I think, a month ago. And he has just been lights out. Last 7 starts for him. He's missed a little bit of time early with injury. Since he's come back, 34 innings in the last 7 starts, a 1.32 ERA, 31% K rate, 11% walk rate. He throws really hard. He's already sitting close to the mid-90s with great characteristics, nasty slider, and a splitter that has really come along since I saw him as an amateur. He's going to be a guy that they push quickly, and I think they're going to be really excited about in Atlanta.
Damn. The minor league heat sheet. No Yankees, I guess.
No, never. Former Yankee.
Former Yankee, great. So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Hopefully everybody enjoyed, and stay tuned for tomorrow's episode where Jack and I are going to go head-to-head. We're going to draft the best pitching units in Major League Baseball. For Arm Layden, I'm Peter Apple. Make sure to get yourself some Just Baseball merch. And again, the best way to support, rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. It is the best way to support without spending a dime, and make sure to join the best baseball group chat in the world. I'm telling you, you're going to want to join for the postseason. That place is going to be hot. It is going to be so much fun. So many messages, so many questions answered throughout all of baseball, the end of the minor league season with Aram, my bets, our general MLB stuff, college baseball in the offseason, fantasy baseball, everything. And of course, the MLB playoffs. Hopefully everybody has a great Thursday. And again, we'll see you on Friday. And with that, thank you, everybody.